Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are really excited to be here to share the story on UNHCR, how they are breaking down payment data silos in order to reach their goal of by 2025 getting an annual income from fundraising from the private sector of $1 billion. Before moving forward, you're going to see the following slides quite a lot this week, but for now, let's leave it, safe harbor. Any purchasing decisions, please base them on current functionality and not on forward-looking statements. So I'm accompanied here today on stage by Saskia. Saskia is Head of Private Sector Partnerships with UNHCR in the Netherlands, and my colleague Marcelle PORTEOUS. Marcelle leads our UK and Ireland team and office. My name is VISSER. I'm the founder and managing director of StepOrange. We are a Dutch Salesforce ISV. We have been building applications for fundraising organizations since 2014 and supporting them with their core processes. And what we've seen over time is marketing professionals almost having a full control of the content, the brand experience, and the customer journey when it comes to their email marketing, their website, their social media engagement. But all of a sudden, if you then look somewhere at the end of the journey, the actual processing of the donation, they kind of lack the entire control and the brand experience. We kind of ask ourselves the question, why can't you have the same control when setting up and managing your payment processes the way that you do that with your standard Salesforce CRM? And this question is actually more relevant today than it has ever been. Why, you might ask? If you look at the typical fundraising organization, they have one or two payment methods, typically driven credit cards with their payment service providers, sometimes a bit of reconciliation with bank statements, ACH with their bank. But that's just kind of, the payment methods that they traditionally offer their customers, their donors. But on the other end of the spectrum, we see consumers, donors, fastly adopting new ways to pay for goods, services, and subscriptions. And this rapid adoption is driven by organizations like Google, Apple, Facebook, a lot of financial technology companies that are building new application, new technology to support people for seamless payments online in stores. And it's actually that behavior and that spreading out of payments across so many more virtual wallets that's creating a really big gap between what you are, on average, offering your donors to pay for a donation and what the consumer, the donor, is fastly adopting. And it's actually our goal as StepOrange to empower you to say to your donor, dear donor, thank you that you want to make a donation. We don't care how you do it, as long for you as it's seamless, it's in line with our brand identity, and preferably as cost efficient as possible, because the more cost efficient it is, the more money that go to your projects. Small sip. And the way we support organizations to take advantage of all those new payment capabilities in the market and combine them with your traditional payment capabilities is with our PaymentHub solution. And PaymentHub is the first customer payment management platform, and it's built 100% natively on the Salesforce platform. And it brings the logic of payment processing onto Salesforce in the heart of your donor profile, and it also brings the data there. And the nice thing about bringing the data and the payment logic within Salesforce CRM in your donor profile is that you all of a sudden can leverage all your donor data in more personalized one-to-one payment journeys. And PaymentHub supports any currency, any payment method, and integrates with almost any payment service provider or bank. So you as an organization can create your own standards on Salesforce, and somewhere at the end of the line of the acquiring process, you can set up if the payment needs to be closed with a Facebook payment, with Stripe, with Ingenico, or with the bank. But that's something we worry about. Before jumping into a demo in a couple of minutes, and Saskia, the story she's going to share about UNHCR, we'd like to actually ask you to take out your phones for a moment. So this time it's actually good to take out your phone and stare for the screen for a second. And if I can ask you to go to this URL, to this bit.ly, and you will see a form there. And by completing the form, you will be actually participating in a couple of minutes in our demo. It's going to be interactive. The URL, if it's going to go too fast, you're going to see it back in a couple of minutes also throughout the session. But once you're there and you set up the form, you're good to go. So without further ado, thank you. I'm now going to pass it on to Saskia and happily listen to her story. Saskia?
Thank you, boss, and thank you everyone for coming today. It's a real honor for me to be here and to share a little bit about what we've done in the Netherlands. So my name is Saskia BAAR and I work for UNHCR, and for those who don't know our organization, we are the UN Refugee Agency, so we are mandated by the UN to provide solutions for refugees. I don't know how this one works.
It's okay, I'll do it for you.
Okay, great. My role in the Netherlands is to lead a small team of fundraisers to mobilize people in the private sector, whether it's individuals, foundations, or businesses, to raise funds for the work of UNHCR worldwide. So before kicking into a little bit what we did, I wanted to actually introduce you to a little boy. This boy is called Ashraf. He's a Syrian boy. He was born in Damascus. He was actually born on the day that the conflict in Syria erupted in 2011. After living under the extreme circumstances in Syria for 2 years, he and his family fled over the border into Lebanon, where they're now living in a makeshift settlement. So this is it's a very happy boy. It shows the resilience of this child. But along with Ashraf, there's many, many more millions of children, refugee families who are forced to flee their homes daily. The UNHCR has actually found that currently there's more than 65 million people. This is a record high for us. The number of people that are globally fleeing from their homes. And it's incredibly important for us to actually find solutions for these people. This is the mandate of our organization. In order to do that, we need funds, which actually brings us to what we're here today. So why is it important that we work with the private sector? Well, first of all, the number of emergencies is actually becoming more and more. And despite the traditional support that we receive from traditional donors like the government, we're just seeing that it's not enough. So it's becoming more and more important for us to work with the private sector. But because we're coming onto the field a little bit later than other organizations who have been doing this for a much longer period of time, we actually have the possibility to do it right from the beginning. And in the Netherlands, when we set up our office last year, we worked with Salesforce for the CRM database. We also worked with StepOrange to include the PaymentHub into our processes. And one of the reasons that we're doing is that we have a very big ambition. Boss already mentioned it. Globally, we have the ambition to raise 1 billion from the private sector annually by 2025. So if we want to do that, we need to be smart, we need to be agile, we need to put the donor at the center of the work that we're doing. And we also know that it's much more, I think all of the fundraisers in the audience will know, it's much more costly to acquire a donor than to retain one. So we want that process to be as seamless as possible. And that brings us to our demo of today. This is an image of a father who has just carried his 3 children in a basket across the border from Myanmar into Bangladesh. This is a Rohingya father. This is an ongoing crisis that's happening at the moment. The numbers are increasing every day by the thousands, so the numbers that you're going to see in the demo today have already increased. But this is an example of how we've kind of been thinking of the art of the possible. What can we do when looking at the technology that we have at hand to really reach out to our donors and to respond very quickly and effectively?
Thank you, Saskia. So before jumping in the demo, we went too far. Thanks.
Sorry.
For those of you who've signed up to participate in the demo, we're now going to pretend that you've already been donating to UNHCR for a couple of years, so you're an active donor and we've got an authorization to take payments out of your bank account or credit card. Of course, we're not really going to do that, but for the sake of the demo, pretend that we have that authorization. Marcelle?
Yeah, great, thank you. Can you hear me? All right, so I'm just going to come out of the presentation and switch into Salesforce for a moment. One sec. Okay, so what you're looking at on screen here, obviously that's my phone on the other side. Hopefully no notifications will go off while I'm doing the presentation. This is live after all. And this, as you're seeing in front of you, is just Salesforce with the non-profit success pack installed and PaymentHub as the engine driving all the payment processing and data coming in. So what we've done here, it's vitally important that we can react incredibly quickly as soon as an emergency is announced. So what we've done is collected together everyone that we have in Salesforce right now, including those of you that may have signed up for the session using the bit.ly link, which is also on the screen here. If you haven't done so already, you've got a few more seconds to do that. And what we're going to do is quickly gather together every single donor in the system who has already given us authority to take money out of their bank. So what we mean by that is anyone who's signed up with credit card authorization or a bank debit like in Europe, direct debit through BACS or SEPA or any of those payment methods. Essentially, these individuals have already trusted us and given us authority to take money. What that enables us to do in the event of an emergency is to quickly create a campaign in Salesforce targeted for that specific event. We can, and it's at this point I'm cutting off so whoever's not participating won't get one, but I'm going to go ahead and send text messages out to all of you in the room. The ones that have participated, in a second when the screen refreshes, I'm going to send a message and your phones will start pinging, and then you can follow me on the screen. Don't you just love a live demo situation? I can do a dance if you like. While oh no, here we go, great. So I'm going to send this text message out. It will come from StepOrange. It should arrive in your phone. Bleep, bleep, bleep. Here we go. So I'm now going to go ahead and, because my phone generally takes a little bit longer to do so, I'm going to pretend that I've just received the text, and this is what you will have received. So you filled in the form. We know who you are. Salesforce had generated the text message. So what we're now doing is saying, hi, thank you. We know who you are. We'd like you to give some money to this urgent appeal, please. Now, the form that you see in front of you obviously is personalized. It just came through a text. We've said here we've got the option of $50, $80, or $150. Now, this is a dynamic form. So what we've done here is taken the average amount that donors usually give to us and said, do you know what, they're comfortable with this amount, so that's what we're going to put on the form. But if the donor was giving $5 or $10 a month, for example, this amount could be much less. Now, obviously, everybody in the room here is clearly very wealthy individuals, so we've set the amount much higher for you guys. So please go ahead and click on one of the buttons if you feel compelled to do so, and click to donate. Remember, we're not taking actual money, this is just a demo, but this is a real appeal. So if you do want to give money to this appeal, we will be sharing a link with you at the end of the session if you signed up, so that you can go ahead and actually give money to this appeal, because it is really happening right now. So hopefully at some point some money is going to start appearing on the page here as people start clicking on the links. Now, the other thing we've got here is obviously an integration with Twitter. If you're following this on your phones, then your Twitter link will share the fact that you've attended an amazing Dreamforce session with StepOrange and UNHCR. In my scenario, because I'm pretending to be a real donor here, Nicholas Smith has donated to UNHCR. Now, what we're effectively doing here is sharing and sharing again through the power of social media, using, in this case, Twitter, but you could obviously use Facebook or whatever you choose. So I'm going to go ahead and click this link as one of Nicola's friends who is now donating to UNHCR. But this time, we don't know who you are. So this time we need to take a bit more information, and while I do so, I'm just going to hand over to Bas to talk for a second.
Yeah, so while Marcelle is completing the form, what just happened here, so her demo contact, Nicola, who we know, she donated, but she also shared, her concern about the project with her friends and family, and drove new donors to actually also give to this emergency appeal. So now what happened, all of a sudden our donor becomes a fundraiser, and then it becomes a number game, because the more donors you have, let's say you've got 200,000 donors, if they feel compelled to also share this, all of a sudden you've got 200,000 fundraisers, and they're going to share it again and again, and then you've got a potential program that can go viral. In this example, Marcelle is using Stripe to actually process the payment, but like I said, PaymentHub is agnostic to whatever acquiring payment service provider you want to do behind it. For instance, if you look at UNHCR, they've got a couple of payment processors globally. So we've been able to build one program that works all across the world, but per region they're going to choose WorldPay or Stripe or a different provider that they actually use locally for acquiring the money. Yes, Marcel.
Thank you. So you can start to see that these figures are starting to total up automatically. Now, the interesting thing here is what's happened to Nicola's original donation. So if we just switch back into Salesforce, Nicola obviously gave us a certain amount a while back, and she's also got a regular donation going on. But the MPSP, the Salesforce Nonprofit Success Pack, has a feature in it called soft crediting. And what we're actually doing here is we're acknowledging that Nicola's original donation has gone on to create more money by virtue of her sharing on social networks. So not only has she got her own total that she's been raising, she's also got soft credits down here for everybody else who's chosen to donate as a result of her share. I'm going to pass you back to Saskia to wrap up.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone who participated in the demo. As Marcelle said, this is an actual emergency. This is happening as we speak, so if you do feel compelled to donate to the actual appeal that's happening, please do so. Just to kind of leave you with a final thought for today, every 3 seconds another person is forced to flee their home. And this demo took a little bit under the 10 minutes, which means that another 200 people have been forced to flee their homes. I think what we've kind of tried to do here is to show a little bit about the art of the possible and to show how extremely important it is that, especially in terms of crises, and that's what our organization does, is that we need to be able to respond as quickly as we can. Every second counts. It's been really interesting to sort of establish this in the Netherlands, and I hope the demo has provoked some thoughts with you as well today.
So Saskia, thank you for sharing your story and actually being open and sharing with the community. Some of the new programs UNHCR is setting up. I think it's inspirational. I know this is actually just one of the programs and proof of concept you're setting up. But what we hope that you got out of this today is, besides the fact that all the new payment capabilities that are coming to market, how you can leverage those as a fundraising organization, but the fact that you're pulling in data away from an external payment database as a system of record, and by getting this data onto Salesforce combined with all your sales, marketing, and service data, all of a sudden your payment data can become a system of engagement. And there's so much more, so many more programs that you can then build on top of that data. For now, we'd like to thank you and open up the floor to questions if anybody has a question.
Thanks guys. Can I just repeat that? Thanks to Marcelle and to Bos for the presentation, and a special thanks to Saskia and obviously to UNHCR for all the great work that they do. We've got a few minutes now, so if anybody does want to ask any questions, please, if you wouldn't mind putting your hand up, I'll bring the microphone over to you.
I'm wondering how you're tracking success of using PaymentHub. Like, what are the metrics that you have in place, and how long is the campaign going on?
I'll leave it also to Bos to explain a little bit about this. This is really a proof of concept for us still, so we haven't been able to test it. But yeah, so that's.
So what we've done together with UNHCR, like Saskia said, they're a really big organization that has been around for a long time, but in the private sector fundraising, they're just setting this up across the world. So in the Netherlands, we've been working with them now for a year and a half, I think, something like that. We've set up all the basics, and what you've seen here today is one of the examples of the proof of concept we've built together with them on top of your basic fundraising payment processes that we've done. So no metrics yet. Ask again next year.
Watch this space.
Yeah, watch this space, yeah. Thank you for the question, though.
This is an awesome demo, and it worked really well with the one-time donors, but a lot of nonprofits are looking for those monthly or recurring donors. In this instance, is that an option? And if so, is that management being done directly in Salesforce or back in the payment gateway, in this case, Stripe?
I didn't fully understand the question.
So in this demo that we just went through,
yes.
Say you wanted to turn on a monthly gift option,
yes,
instead of just a one-time donation.
Yeah.
Is this example something where that could be supported?
Yeah, so what we have in this example, actually we leveraged our recurring donors, so already collecting with them on a monthly basis. And for this emergency appeal, we actually address those donors where we have the authorization to take the money out of the account as a one-time on top of the recurring one. But the other way around, if you would have a process where somebody at first is a single donor, just gave a donation once, with PaymentHub, those donations always come from your donation forms, that they go real-time through NPSP, enrich the data there, and once it's there, it's standard Salesforce, and you can build your upgrade models. But what we see now a lot of organizations doing is that it's not so much the upgrade campaigns that they're looking at to get somebody, for instance, from $10 to 15, but they're now starting to see what the power is of actually the mandate or the authorization to take the money without a checkout from a credit card or account, and just leaving that in place there with the 10 euros or $10, and then specifically targeted with campaigns and content, just drive one-offs on top of that. Does that answer the question?
I think also,
Sure.
yeah, I think just to add on that, like it would be possible to put a recurring, to give that as an option as well. We tailored this to the Netherlands, which is a very saturated market, where people are not very likely to give recurring gifts anymore. So we are asking initially, especially for an appeal, for a one-off gift, and then naturally we have a donor journey, which we use Marketing Cloud for, where we then try to upgrade or turn them into regular donors.
We've got time for a couple more questions if anybody wants to ask.
Do you need to be using Marketing Cloud, or can you leverage something like Twilio for the SMS capability aspect of what you showed?
What we did in this example, because if we also would have built a couple of journeys with Marketing Cloud, we wouldn't have fit it in the 20 minutes. So from a PaymentHub perspective, we manage the payment data and we create a payment link, universal. But in the end, what you use to send it for, so here we just pushed it in a messaging gateway ourselves. You can use Twilio, you can use PORTEOUS, you can use Marketing Cloud. That's, whatever works in your organization. Maybe you're starting with MailChimp and quickly moving on to Marketing Cloud when your organization is ready. That's up to you. And again, that's all standard Salesforce then in the end. Thank you.
Oh, one more.
Hi, is there information besides the payment information that comes back? In other words, if the credit card information includes addresses and so forth, does that come back into Salesforce?
Well, it depends who you use. In this example, we've used Stripe, and from a PCI compliance perspective, we're only exchanging tokens here. So we're storing tokens in your Salesforce org. Sometimes if you, for instance, use PayPal, you can set up different rules that PayPal can actually already give you some address information. So it kind of it depends how you set up your journeys and what kind of provider you're working with, or what you're asking your donor somewhere during the journey. It's kind of open from our perspective.
Great. Once again, guys, thanks very much. Thanks, Marcelle. Thanks, Bos. Thanks, Saskia.
Thank you.
And you guys are going to share a link, I believe, after the session, if anybody does want to donate, for real?
Yeah, the people that have signed up are going to participate. They're going to get a one-time email with actually a correct donation link to UNHCR.
Great, I'll be doing that. Thanks.
Donate.unhcr.